Hey guys, welcome to another It's Soluminating. Joined today by Sung Kim, our Chief Technology Officer at iBase-t.
Thanks, Tom.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
All right. So today the topic is artificial intelligence, getting a huge amount of press, hot topic out in the market, hot topic everywhere, not just in manufacturing, but everyone it's affecting and touching. Very interesting topic, very really cool developments going on in AI and in software development, of course. But we want to talk a little more specific around artificial intelligence in manufacturing, right? And what some of the benefits and potential benefits are for artificial intelligence, and where's it going, and go to the top, go to our Chief Technology Officer and learn more about how Solumina is supporting artificial intelligence. So with that, I would ask you, what are we doing with artificial intelligence, and what's our story here?
So well, to me personally, AI, because there's different things you can do with an AI. November 22, we saw a ChatGPT came out, and it has become the fastest growing consumer application out there. I think it reached 100 million in few days, like in a couple of weeks. I don't know how. It's like it overtook the world, right? But to me, AI is there for reduced inefficiency. So massive amount of data you throw at AI, it figures things out. That's the deep learning, that's the machine learning part of the AI. And actually the computer science industry itself has been tackling AI since 50s. So the first term AI came about, and the original author regrets that it made it into artificial intelligence. That was 1959. It was about the rule-based, based on this rule, you do this and you do that AI. So, but nowadays, because of the advances of GPT, which is generative pre-trained transformer, meaning you give a sentence, it understands what you're trying to say, and it comes back with some kind of response based on the knowledge, pre-trained knowledge it has. So with iBase-t, within iBase-t, our AI strategy is we're actually trying to use AI for the organization first. So general solutions like the GPTs and the co-pilots and the things that can help us do our job better, because a lot of times we already do this, but we do this very manually driven process. When you have question, you find out who can answer the question, you send a bunch of emails, you talk to a bunch of people, and finally you try to summarize the answers and you come up with your own answer. But using the right technique, we should just ask the AI, and it knows the data source it can go after and get the answers for you, and pretty quickly. That's one thing. So that's the first strategy that we have. And second strategy, or phase 2, is AI in Solumina. So we are working with AI partners, and we're particularly working with MTC, which is the research organization for the manufacturing in UK, for AI use cases. And we're talking to many different analysts, and as you know, manufacturing sector has been notorious slow to adopt a new technology. And you and I saw this with the cloud adoption from our customer. It took 5+ years to get them to take cloud. But it's all about the data. I don't think we have the right data or right coordination of the data to feed it into AI at this point. So a lot of manufacturers and a lot of our customers are struggling to figure out what the use cases are. So that's where I'm actually working with the partners that has done AI work outside of the manufacturing in general industry, and trying to bring that into the AI. And my ultimate goal with the AI is find these painstaking places in Solumina or manufacturing and use AI technique to automate and simplify. It's just like our logo or our mantra, like complex made simple. I want to make that complex and the long, arduous manual process into very simplified and automated the work that we can do, so we can do something meaningful.
So what are we hearing from our customers when it comes to AI? I mean,
So
there are some that are very innovative, right, and some that are slow to advance. So
right.
I'm sure it comes in varying sizes from them.
Right. So I've seen image recognition. So using the computer vision and using AI technique to do something about it has been, I think it's in production at this point with our customers. So I've seen a lot of customers using find the defects based on the image recognition, just like the way that
Mhm.
the one of the first industry specific use cases for AI was radiology. Finding the tumor or cancer tumors from the X-rays, right? That AI became almost like 99% accurate on those. Those are easier thing to do. So, manufacturing customers like ours have found that as well. They have a bunch of cameras looking at the composite, and they can trace based on the prior records, the current and past data. They can predict or they can detect the. So I've seen that, and I see more to right now, more in the predictive and prescribe analytics. So what they're trying to
Mhm.
do is get a bunch of data and try to see based on all different types of information that they have on the shop floor, whether it's inventory, what the tool is, the usage of the tool, and they're trying to predict or they're trying to prescribe in terms of the maintenance or repair of those tools instead of the waiting for 3 days because it just went out of service. Maybe you can predict it's going to go out of service after 2 more uses. So you can actually scheduling in, the tool kitting or the repair in between. So production control or production scheduling, those are the things that I'm hearing on the AI side. Of course, the training and using now, domain knowledge, just like any other industry, that is there too.
Mhm. Mhm. So it sounds like it's a lot about tapping all the data that's available in Solumina in order to make better decisions, to be more efficient, for workers to be more efficient, and to help them doing that. So
Mhm.
look forward to seeing a lot of that. Anything else? Anything else you see out there in manufacturing on for AI?
So I think you just hit something right, is the data, right? So
Yeah.
Solumina as an MES puts a context between all the IT data because we do proper integration with the PLMs and ERPs. And now with all the OT data, with the IoT integrations and getting the data from tools and machines and operational data through the execution, who did what at what stage, and this defect was created because of that. All those data, if a group of people or team is trying to analyze it and try to predict something, it's going to be a daunting task. This is where I think the AI can help come in and help us greatly. But the Solumina puts the context behind. So it's almost like the reinforcement training in AI area, right? What you do is like supervised training. So you're telling AI, hey, that's the right answer, that's the wrong answer. It's like classic example of is it a cat or dog? The image that was trained by the person. You're telling, showing the image, this is a cat, 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 dog, cat, cat, right? Then the AI learns, yeah, this is now cat, this is now dog. Same thing. Solumina is almost like supervised learning process for the manufacturing data. So I think it's crucial to have your integration story right, to have your IoT data right, and then try to use the AI with those data.
Yeah. Yeah. So is AI a threat? I mean, you hear a lot of that talk and chatter in the news, and people who are unfamiliar with it think it's a threat. It sounds like, to me, anyways, it sounds like it enhances and supports. But
I am on your side as well. I don't see a threat because I mean the fact that the computers doesn't have emotions, all right, it's not going to
yeah,
try to decide for the benefit of itself. But I am seeing something called like the baby AI or baby GPT is AI feeding itself the result back to itself.
hmm
So it produces the answer and feeding that information back to it. So it's kind of almost like AGI, it's the artificial
false
general
answer. Yeah,
intelligence. So we're
yeah.
going a little bit towards that, but a lot of scholars are saying that's decades away. But the
Mm.
bigger threat that I'm seeing and everybody's realizing is the propagation of the bias, the wrong or hallucinated information. So we can compare AI to human being, right? Human beings may, I don't know, let's hypothetically you and I make 5% of the time wrong decisions or incorrect, but it's just you and me, right? One person. But if the AI like ChatGPT makes, 1% of the time, that's like thousands of answers or millions of answers per day. It's actually giving a wrong information. So it's a propagation of wrong information. That is a threat of the misusage of the AI at this point, I think.
Can scale and be significant pretty quickly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great. Okay. Great topic, Song. Thanks for joining us. I'd love to have you back on for future topics for sure. You're more than welcome and appreciate it.
That'd be great. Thanks, Tom.